Okay, so we're going to finish this off here now, guys. This is our second video, right? The first one, you should have looked at it. As you know, we were going through these different statements, and we were picking out the key information. We're identifying the relevant economic ideologies, such as communism, socialism, capitalism, or fascism. And then we were working on populating a chart to help us to understand these different ideologies, right? By the time we get to the end of Social Studies 30 and you write that diploma exam, we need to make sure that you have a quick means to go through this information and be like, okay, what do I need to know about capitalism? Boom, 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 boom. Go down all the different points about it. Same thing with communism, socialism, and also fascism. So with that being said, folks, we're just going to continue on from where we were. We stopped at number 12. We got 12 more to go, and then we'll be good. So number 13 says leaders must be above the masses. The country can only be strong if powerful leaders in business and industry provide the same unfailing devotion as generals in the army. Workers must obey their leaders to help create a strong industrial and military state. Okay, so leaders are above the masses. Again, business and government are together like hand in glove, and the job of workers is to obey. This sounds an awful lot like fascism, because it is. Okay, so let's go over to our chart on the far right. That's where we find fascism. We're going to say leader, or the leader, let's say the leader is above the regular people. We're going to say the leader is infallible. And the term infallible, folks, the term infallible basically means doesn't make mistakes, right? You are not to question them. Your job is to follow and listen, or as we said up here, obey, right? Your job is to obey the leader. Yeah, workers must obey. Yeah, I think we're good with that, right? Do we have obedience, right? Obey leader. Workers are to know or say their role in helping contribute to the industrial and military health of the state. There we go. All right, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Number 14, I believe an economic system that fails to distinguish between needs and wants is wasteful and needs a drastic overhaul. Private enterprise needs to be totally replaced by state ownership. Okay, cool. So I believe an economic system that fails to distinguish between needs and wants is wasteful. Okay, so they obviously don't like capitalism. Private enterprise needs to be totally replaced by state ownership. What are we talking about? We are talking about communism. Let's go over to our chart here. So under capitalism, right? I know we identified this as communism, but let's still look at this here. So we're going to say private enterprise. Under communism, we want to put state enterprise. Let's just go back to our, okay. And then over here, I don't know if we have it or not. I don't think we do. State ownership. Total state ownership. And then we'll say total private ownership. And in a socialist economy, just because we need to put some stuff in here, we're going to say some private ownership and also some state ownership. When I think of socialism, guys, I think of nations like Sweden, right? Sweden is considered to be a socialist society. Is there a lot of government ownership and regulation in those states? Absolutely. Okay, so let's put lots of state regulation. And then under here, let's put total state regulation of industry. And then under capitalism, in a true capitalist society, there is no state regulation of industry. Holy cow, this is getting long, right? This is getting long. Okay, let's go back. Number 15, undoubtedly, the government must control the vital resources and essential services of the state to ensure that they're utilized in the best interest of all. So the government must control the vital resources and essential services to ensure they're being utilized in the best interest of all. There is, however, no need for government to unjustly seize all production and totally eliminate private production. Okay, so we have some state control, but also some private production, it's saying. And that automatically means it's not communism, it's not capitalism, it has to be socialism. Okay, so let's go back to socialism. Oops. Go to our chart and put state controls the vital industries within society. And just going back to what we have here. The best interest. The idea of the best interest is like highly focused on the common good. And then under communism, we're going to put totally focused on the common good. And then under capitalism, we're going to put no emphasis on the common good, purely focused on self-interest. Okay, let's go back. Number 16. There's nothing wrong with government planning. It is a useful tool for promoting the economic prosperity of a nation. Government incentives and regulations are necessary to some extent. So we have some regulation in the market, right? To ensure that basic necessities are available to consumers at an equitable price. Okay, so guys, again, looking at this differentiation between capitalism, where there is no regulation, socialism, where there is some regulation, and then communism, where there is total regulation. This is saying some regulation is necessary. So automatically, that lands us into socialism. And I'm pretty sure we have the idea of regulation in our chart already. Yes, lots of state regulation of industry, right? So we already have that down there. So let's just keep moving. Number 17, the government, through its planning committees, needs to determine the amount of labor and other resources to be devoted to production. The wants of consumers are secondary in this regard. So they are not worried about consumers. And I would argue, as a result, this one would be communism. Okay, and again, I'm pretty sure we have this idea that the wants of consumers are secondary. Okay, so let's just put under communism in our chart, let's just put consumer wants, consumer, do not drive the economy. And then under capitalism, let's put consumer wants, I cannot spell, consumer wants / needs totally drive the economy. Again, guys, it's going back to that idea that we have up here of supply and demand, right? Supply and demand to determine pricing. That's what we're focused on. And if something's in high demand, the value of it goes up, the cost of it goes up. If something's in low demand, well, then you're going to find it at, the dollar store or Dollarama or, whatever cheap store you have wherever you live, right? Okay, going back, number 18. Economic inequality is natural. Okay, economic inequality is natural. The disparity between the classes should not be eliminated, so we don't worry about rich and poor. Instead, cooperation and friendly relations between classes should be encouraged. Owners, supervisors, and workers should be taught to view one another as national brothers. Only a nation that is fully united socially, politically, and economically will be able to dominate other nations. National socialism is the path to national greatness. Wow, there's a lot here, okay? So number one, economic inequality. So guys, first of all, what system are we talking about here? We're talking about fascism. Okay, we're talking about fascism. So we're going to say inequality is natural. And you know what? Capitalism also believes that inequality is natural. So there's some similarities there. Going back to our statement, owners and supervisors and workers should be taught to view one another as national brothers. So let's just put over here, all citizens are quote-unquote national brothers and sisters. What else do we got here? What else do we got? National socialism. So this idea of national socialism is actually what the Nazis called themselves, right? If you know anything about the history of Nazi Germany, right, you know that they're actually called the National Socialist German Workers' Party. And some of you right now are probably thinking, well, how could socialism be on the far right? How is that possible, Mr. Crosby? I can't wrap my brain around this. Well, really, guys, the most important part of National Socialism is national or nation, okay? Guys, National Socialism really is a misnomer, right? It's like the term World Series, right? The World Series of baseball happens in the major leagues of baseball here in North America, right? Primarily in the United States, but of course there's one Canadian team, the Toronto Blue Jays, that are also participants in the major leagues of baseball. And as a result, guys, the World Series, it doesn't involve the world, right? There's no Japanese teams, Cuban teams, Chinese teams, Chilean teams, anything like that. It's strictly a North American thing. So as much as they like to call it the World Series, it's really not, right? It's a misnomer. It's misnamed. National Socialism is misnamed as well. But if you hear the term National Socialist, you should be thinking far-right, fascist, Nazism. All right, last couple here. Number 19, unshackle production. Turn the markets loose. Turn the markets loose, baby. And everyone will share more or less in the ever-increasing prosperity. Okay, we're focused on prosperity and turning the markets loose. Let's check out, first of all, this is capitalism. And then do we have free market? Just trying to look here. I don't think we do. So this idea of the free market, and just in brackets we're going to put no government intervention within the economy. And then, we also have the idea of prosperity, right? It's focused on, so focus on individual prosperity. And then under socialism, let's put focus on, or we'll say a great deal of focus on social or societal prosperity And then under communism, we're going to put total focus is on creating equality and spreading evenly prosperity in society. Okay, there we go. Let's keep going. Number 20. I feel that an economic system, while acknowledging the right of the individual's private property rights and private decision-making in consumption, should take some private production out of the hands of the individual and put it in the hands of government or its authorized agent. So we see, right, some private property, and we also see some government control. And as a result, guys, again, capitalism is no government. Communism is total government. The mixture of some government and then some private ownership would be socialism. And I'm very sure we have that already in our different columns, right? So number 20 is socialism. Number 21, the government encourages forms of enterprise other than private. Okay, oops. So they encourage forms of enterprise other than private, such as cooperatives. Ooh, cooperatives. It works with cooperative groups to encourage production of needed goods and services. Cooperatives are encouraged by government grants, especially if they're willing to get into an area of the economy in which private business and government itself are not willing to become involved in. So there is some private business, but there's also a focus on people working together. So you're focused on the common good. As a result, this is socialism. But this idea of cooperation is a very leftist idea, and you would find it on the left in socialism or in also communism. Cooperation. So cooperation for the common good of society. And then we also have cooperation for the common good of society. All right, awesome. Number 22, 3 more. When individuals own the means of production, this leads to economic disparity and a class system forms. The path to true happiness and equality is where not the few, but the many receive equal benefit for their work. Whoop-de-doo. Okay, sorry about that. Go away. There we go. So when individuals own the means of production, this leads to economic disparity and a class system forms. So it's talking about how when we have individual ownership, we have rich and poor, right? The path to true happiness and equality is where not the few, but the many receive equal benefit for their work. Okay, I would argue, so this is a leftist idea, and I would argue that this is communism. Okay, so under communism, let's put, sorry, I'm just going to go back to this for a sec. We'll say equal pay for all, right? Instead of equal pay, we'll say equal social standing for all people. Beautiful. Ooh, number 23, 2 more, guys. You're doing so well. You know what? You guys are beautiful. Thanks for sitting with me. Number 23, the productive energies of all citizens and privately owned industries must be directed to serve the all-important goals of the nation state. Serve the nation state. Already I'm thinking what it is. And also the leader, right? So we got to focus on the leader as well. So let's just highlight that. By this program, economic trends will be controlled. Through this program, economic prosperity will skyrocket. Another benefit of this approach is that it will result in plummeting support for left-wing economic policies. This is fascism, right? The leader, the state, the nation state, it's fascism. And again, we have that down. And then number 24, consumers should determine what goods and services should be produced. So consumers should determine, not the government, but individuals, right? So that's pretty important. Oops. There we go. Consumers should do this by buying or refusing to buy a certain quantity at a certain price. Producers must choose methods of production that will result in goods and services satisfactory to the consumer. Economic activity involves a circular flow between consumer spending and producer or capital investment. Well, look, there's a lot of ideas in this, so let's just get it out of the way. This is capitalism. So this, guys, from this, right, we're going to add it to our particular chart here. This gets at the idea of what is known as consumer sovereignty. This is where consumers determine the winners and losers within the economy. And they do that by giving money to products or services that they see are superior, and not giving money to products or services that are considered inferior, right? So we, the consumer in a capitalist society, we determine, what's produced, how it's produced, and how it gets in the hands of the people based upon our demand for a certain product or service. Okay, that's it, folks. There's a lot of material there. Just 1 second here. I want to just add this up and make sure everything's cool. Okay, I just added it up, right? The instructions say that there is 6 of each of these economic systems. It says 8. There's actually 6, right? So I'll just change that to 6. And there is, based on the addition I just did, there is 6 statements that satisfy capitalism. There's 6 statements that we identified as communist, 6 statements as fascist, and 6 statements as socialist. As always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for sitting with me. Hopefully this helps make things a little bit more clear in your mind. And as always, peace, love you, and we'll see you in the next video.